Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello everyone, my name is Andy. I'm the Managing Consultant for Cybervenger. Today we're doing another deep dive into the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171 standard. This applies to federal contracts with the Department of Defense and other departments for protecting controlled, unclassified information. Got a couple videos on exactly what that is and what it's all about. Go check those out if you're confused about all the stuff I just said. Today's control, if you look down here, is 3.7.4. And it says, check media containing diagnostic and test programs for malicious code before the media are used in organizational systems. Okay, that sounds a very wordy mouthful, right? Basically, media. So if you got a DVD or a flash drive and you're plugging, you're about to use something, a tool, let's take my favorite tool, right? Nsight's Enable product. Before we deploy the agents, right, we scan that with an antivirus just to make sure there's no malicious code, just to run through anything known, and then we're also very up on reading bulletins for security alerts for tools that have been breached, just try and stay up on that kind of thing, and then only then do we go do kind of a screening process before we deploy our software, whether it's Enable, whether it's some other tool. A little bit of political screening goes a long way too. Sometimes not just about sticking a tool to scan for known bad code. Things like, this is, after all, Department of Defense we're talking about, right? Kaspersky antivirus. Normally a good product, and I don't want to put shade on the product. I've heard it's got a good reputation. But it is manufactured by a company that exists and is incorporated in Russia. And right now, a little geopolitical savviness here for those who are clueless. There's some tensions between U.S. and Russia. The Ukraine war comes to mind. So we may behoove one not to use Kaspersky in a Department of Defense kind of scenario. It doesn't really call that out specifically in its control, but if you read between the lines, you should be thinking about those kinds of things when you purchase tools. There are other software out there that you may want to use, and you think about the national origin of that software. Does it belong to an ally? Probably not a big deal. Do your scanning and other things like that, and then put it on in. Does it have a good reputation? You don't want to use tools that are unheard of. And this is a bit controversial, especially for me, because I'm such a big fan of open source software. But if you have a free product and that's written and maintained by you don't know who, that may be suspect. You may not want to use that tool in an organization that's handling CUI. There are exceptions to this, and this is certainly always the case that GPL license or free software is always bad, right? It could be a well-known project that's used often, like KeePass. We recommend that here all the time on this channel. And KeePass has been around a long time. People know it. Nmap is another tool that's used. There's a bunch of them out there. There's a lot of good open source software. But you do want to think twice a little bit before you put a piece of software on your network that's containing CUI. And you want to go through some kind of process to scan it for antivirus and that sort of thing. It also talks about, if you look back in the second pane here, it says, if upon inspection of media containing maintenance, diagnostic, and test programs, organizations determine that the media contain malicious code, the incident is handled consistent with incident handling policies and procedures. So this just means if you've been using a tool and it's got malicious code in it, declare an emergency. Declare an incident and immediately go batten down the hatches, because if you find something that you've been using or have reason to believe that you've got a problem in your hand, there could be a third-party person acting in your network. You should be digging through your logs, contact the security providers, immediately letting know your contract representative with the Department of Defense know, that sort of thing. Whatever else you have designed in your instant response plan. This does not mean, I think, it kind of reads like that, but I don't think this means that if you get a tool from scratch and you've never deployed it anywhere and you scan it for the first time, you find a problem. It doesn't mean you have to panic and go straight to your incident response issue. I don't think that's what that means. That doesn't make any sense. It hasn't touched your network. There's no risk of it being used. If you caught it in your initial screening process and your quality control and your evaluation, then it did its job and there's no risk to the CUI. I don't think you need to declare a disaster. You probably should contact the vendor, wherever you got this thing from, go, hey, we found this. You got a problem on your hands. That's certainly a thing. Another thing you could do is when you download media off the internet, most places, most vendors, most software companies will have little checks on there. You can use CertUtil that comes with Microsoft to check that. Find out whether you used MD5 or ES256, however they generated the hash. So it generates a hash. If you don't remember what a hash is, I talked about it in other videos, it basically is a unique number, a long number, that's generated based on the contents of a given file. And if you vary the contents of that file at all, I mean a single byte difference, the number is changed completely. So if you have a 100 megabyte file and you change a single byte of that file, the hash won't just increment by 1. It'll increment, like the entire number will be completely scrambled and different. So you could compare the hash that you got from the website with the hash that you generate using CertUtil on your Windows box. Make sure you use the same standard. I've done this before too. I've used the MD5 against a hash that was supposed to be generated in AES 256, and they completely didn't match, and I panicked, and I went, oh, wait, I changed the encryption standard for the hash, and then they matched, and it was okay. That's a good thing to do anytime you download software that you plan on installing. That should be a check that you use. You really should have a policy written for how you do quality control. What do you look for? What standards do you as an organization have? What are you willing to tolerate? Maybe you say, hey, open source software, I'm sorry, but if we don't have a throat to choke, we're not going to risk it. Maybe that's your policy, or maybe that's overkill and too heavy-handed. Whatever your decision as an organization is, write it down, make it policy, and then you have something to follow consistently. Everybody in an organization can do that to evaluate whether the tools you're using are indeed safe up to a certain standard. It doesn't really say what that standard is. It says specifically here, check the media to look for malicious code. But I think it's more than that. So if you want to follow 3.7.4, you really need a policy for doing quality control checks for the safety of the software you're using from whatever source. And that policy should include what kind of sources you're willing to accept and which ones you're not. Of course, a good antivirus scan, but other geopolitical factors as well as to what country you're getting this from, whether they're an ally or not of the United States, is a big deal. So that's all I got for this one, and I will see you folks in the next one.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.